Hey guys, welcome to Herstory. Today I'm going to be doing a video all about Victorian flower language. So I feel like it's going to be a really good one for Valentine's Day, so yeah, stay tuned. Okay, so what I was thinking for this video, I've brought a whole range of flowers that I got from Morrison's, and I was just going to go through each one, kind of arrange them in a vase and talk you through what they meant in the Victorian period and kind of what we associate with these flowers today. And then what I was thinking was that if you guys wanted to send flowers for Valentine's Day, at least then when you're doing it, you'll know what sort of flowers you're sending and what they mean. Okay, so I thought we'd start off with the traditional sort of flower for Valentine's Day, and to be fair, I feel like it's one of the few flowers that actually its meaning has kind of been remembered in kind of just general social memory. So obviously, I'm starting off with the rose. I hope this is a good one. Can you see that? But yeah, we're going to start off with some roses. Obviously, I've got a little vase. Personally, I love them. Obviously, now I hope you're watching and you're like, oh yeah, roses, love. Roses mean love. That's the key thing. Where it gets kind of difficult though, just measure that up. I don't know how short to make it. Go for about there. And then remember to always cut on a slant, guys. Apparently. I'm gonna be honest, I'm really not a trained professional in this. So roses, each different colour of like the type of rose means something different. So the typical red rose is the one you give for love. So we've kind of got that already down. It's also different, like the meaning also changes depending on how many roses you give as well. So if you give one single rose, that is I love you, just me. Whereas if you give a few roses, that's kind of just expressing how much you love as well. So don't give 2 roses, but you can give 1. That's kind of like the key thing, I think. The next kind of confusing thing with roses is that then you start to question the colour. So you need to have a think about what colour rose you want to send. This is actually what inspired me to do the video. So I got gifted roses. It must have been like 2 years ago, I think, maybe. But I got gifted roses, and they were like some really cute yellow roses. Obviously my name's Saffron, so I feel like that's probably what made him think to send, like, give me those type of roses. But when I saw them, I was like, oh, I wonder if the reason they're yellow, because it's not a really like a typical colour to give, is because he knows Victorian flower language. Why I thought this, I don't know. I don't know why at all I thought he would know Victorian flower language. At the time he was studying mechanical engineering. Like, why would he know that? It was a bizarre thought. Everyone in my family thought I was really funny, apart from my auntie, who happens to know Victorian flower language. But yeah, so anyway, yellow roses are for friendship, so I was a bit insulted by the flowers, and that's typically how a Victorian lady would have reacted as well, you know, if that was her suitor. And he drops off some yellow flowers. He's basically saying he's not interested, like he's friend-zoning her through flowers. In the end, obviously, it was fine for me. He didn't know that yellow was for friendship, so it was just some nice flowers in his head, which is fine. So pink roses are for happiness, which I think is really cute, because like that's really what we're all searching for. Like, isn't love just being really, really happy? I hope it is. In my notes actually I've got perfect happiness, which, yeah, that sounds like, you know, the ending of a fairy tale, they lived happily ever after, which I think is really cute. When you start sending lots of different coloured roses, that's when you get to the stage of demonstrating a variety of love. So that's kind of saying like, I'm absolutely devoted to you. Like, your love and my love is just so consuming that like one type of rose won't express it. which I also think is really cute. I'm kind of wishing I got more roses now, just for that moment. But yeah, so I think we can kind of see now why roses are like the starting plant, I guess, or the one that's stayed in our memory as a society. I feel like obviously a lot of us don't know what the different plants mean and why we send them, with the exception of roses. Roses tend to be seen still as, you know, the flower of love, which I just think is so cute. Okay, next plant. Start then with continue with some chrysanthemums. I had to walk quite far, not quite far, a fair distance to get all these flowers. I'm gonna have to just poke them in later. And so these ones at least, they're a little bit battered from being in my bag. So those are the chrysanthemums. Again, like, I feel like Victorian flower language, it all kind of follows the same sort of rules. So the amount of flowers could mean something different, and the colour of the flowers can mean something different. So in general, chrysanthemums, I'm gonna get so sick of saying that, mean happiness. So again, I've gone for kind of like, you know, cheerfulness, happiness sort of vibe with these flowers. In terms of colour, I picked pink. I kind of just picked pink because I could. There was no clear definition of what pink ones meant. So I kind of just decided to wing it and just go for it and see what would happen. But I do have some research on what other colours mean, so I'll talk you through that. Red's obviously love, and then the next kind of main colour we're going to be using in this video then is white. I'm sure historians will maybe disagree with me, but for me, I guess it's a combination. When you're sending flowers to kind of woo someone, I guess you're kind of, you know, saying what you think about them, and that sort of thing. Whereas, I don't know, giving flowers to someone, you know, when you're already together, for me, that's kind of about maybe like telling a story of your guys' lives and where you're at and that sort of thing. So kind of like flowers of happiness and flowers of friendship and all that stuff, I think actually would work quite nicely as well. But especially, you know, if your partner is kind of like me and a bit of a history nerd, I think it's a really cute thing to do to kind of, you know, work out what actually your flowers are saying. For at least for Victorian women, they would have been all up in reading kind of the messages that their partners or significant others were saying. I feel like there was a lot of pressure on lots of different parts of society to know what each flower meant, and people used to get kind of little handbooks that would tell them what the different flowers meant and kind of, you know, what they should be sending and to who. So far, we're kind of giving the vibe of love and happiness right now with our kind of two sets of flowers. We've got this little plant. I'll hold it to the camera. Hopefully you'll get a good look. So what we've got here. So I got really confused when I was trying to look this up, but basically it's got two names, I think. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. But I think it's got two names. So it's known as baby breath, but it's also known as gypsophilia. I hope I've said that right. Its message is fertility. It's hoping that you are going to have some babies. Yeah, that's great. That explains probably why it's so popular for weddings, I suppose. And I'm gonna dot it around the bottom of the vase, I think, and I'm gonna hope that it's just gonna look nice. But yeah, I mean, it looks kind of cute. I might make it actually a bit more spread out. But yeah, the other name for it that I knew it as was baby's breath. It means kind of like purity and innocence and truth. White is kind of like the language of innocence and purity, obviously. So throughout this whole period, we've got this massive messaging to women in particular about kind of being an angel in the home, and the doting wife. But for middle class women, the angel of the home and kind of like the idea of separate spheres came about during the Victorian period. And what we're getting is kind of like this woman that wants to care, well, has to care for the home and care for her husband. Already I feel like the clear problem with this like ideology was that working class women were just completely and utterly excluded. They weren't included whatsoever, because for a woman to touch work or do any type of work would have gone against everything the Victorians stood for. But yeah, so the point of this was that, you know, the right woman for Victorian society, she would have been this really pure, kind of uncorrupted being. She wouldn't know much about the world. She'd be really happy at home in like this really like little pretty environment, and I think really this is what like a lot of the white flowers are appealing to. They're appealing to this image of the perfect wife. And if you imagine kind of like Victorians courting, that's kind of what we're getting from this, is this like then trying to find the perfect wife and the wife that's pure and all this sort of thing. So I don't know, I find it really interesting. Obviously this is kind of like the part of history that I'm a real sucker for, so obviously I'm going to find it interesting. Let me know if you guys have any thoughts on it and what you feel like it would be like to be a woman at that time. But yeah, that's my little rant about sexual inequality in Victorian society. There will be many more from kind of that genre, but for now let's stay focused on flowers. So next flower. Okay, so the next set of flowers I've got, which are definitely not going to all fit in, but I'll put a few in, and then I think I'm just going to have to get another vase because I really overdid it with this one, but there we go. Okay, so the next flower I've got are carnations. I'll just show you them. I think they're quite cute. They've actually got a really interesting language. So I'm really pleased that I picked these up. So generally they can mean love, but more specifically you'd send these if you were interested in a woman. So what I'm talking about is if you were a lesbian, or interested in kind of like a lesbian love relationship, these are the flowers you would have sent to your suitor. If you've done any studying on kind of like Anne Lister or any kind of famous lesbians of the time period, you'll see that they've got a lot of kind of like networks and kind of like almost what you describe as a subculture within their groups basically. And what this meant was actually that they were able to communicate to each other what they wanted to say but couldn't because of what society was like at the time. They could communicate their ideas and what they wanted to say through other means. So one of those means was flowers, but another one that they'd reference really obscure parts of the Bible. So parts of the Bible that in a normal conversation you probably wouldn't mention, but obviously if you're not part of that community, you wouldn't really notice what they were referencing or what it meant, but they'd kind of reference kind of like people symbolic of kind of lesbianism, demonstrating to anyone present that they were a lesbian. And obviously if you were a lesbian too, you'd understand what they were saying, and that was one of the ways kind of which they presented their love without getting caught out. As with all the other flowers in Victorian flower language, we are going to have to look at what the different colours mean. So as a general rule, you'd say carnations are for kind of like lesbian loves, but then the colour of them changes it again. With any kind of like the white plants in Victorian flower language, what we're basically saying is representing the image of an ideal woman. So the white ones were looking at kind of pure, kind, sweet, lovely, innocent. They also mean adoration, which I think is really cute. I kind of get that from them when I look at them. I'm like, yeah, I see that. Final flower. These are going to be little daffodils. Daffodil actually was an interesting one. So I picked it because I was super keen to buy them. Oh, this one's leaking. But actually when I researched what they meant, I had a bit of a surprise. Because they're not actually as happy as I thought they'd be. They look like really happy little plants. So I assumed they have a happy little message with them. And I guess actually this kind of links back with what I was saying before. So when I made the joke about, if it was a joke, about kind of, you know, being put in the friend zone and that sort of thing, this is literally what the daffodils did. So a daffodil was a symbol for unrequited love. So if your love interest didn't love you back, you would be sent some daffodils. I'm sorry to any of the women that had daffodils arrive at their doorstep. So I guess that kind of links in with like the, you know, the yellow as friendship. Like, this person really didn't want to be your lover. I'm actually quite pleased with how this turned out. Like I said before, I've got no qualifications to do this, so I'm pleased. I expected to go a lot worse, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. But yeah, and I'm really hoping that you'll kind of be inspired to have a go yourself. Like, sure, like just go to the shop and grab some plants that you like the look of, or if you are going to send a Valentine's Day bouquet or buy some flowers, like have a think about what you want to say to that person. Like, what do you want the message in your flowers to be? But you've really put the thought in and picked them for a reason, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's kind of really the end of the video. I'm going to chuck some photos on Instagram, so make sure you're following me on there for more kind of like frequent updates. Oh my god, it's snowing outside. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, that's history.herstory. So follow that. Obviously, like and subscribe this video. And actually, what I would really love if you do end up giving a go, and you know, whether you're even getting a bouquet on Valentine's Day or making one, whatever. What I'd love is for you to kind of put in the hashtag History Herstory Victorian flower language and let me know, and I'll keep an eye on it because I would absolutely love to see what everyone else has been doing. And really, it's like sharing your Valentine's Day love story. It's so cute. I absolutely love it. But yeah, I hope you really enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys next time.